So we're going to try this again because the last video sound was just awful, and I want to at least attempt to try to add a contribution to the way we're thinking in this season. We're in the Lenten season, and I have had my thoughts just kind of center around what does it look like for the follower of Jesus. And as I've considered that in the last couple of days, I've found myself attracted to Paul. And in my attraction to Paul, I've really kind of landed on his letter to his mentee, Timothy. The second one, and there's a line that stood out that I can't say that I've paid attention to it the way that I am right now in the past. I have, of course, preached and taught from 2 Timothy, but right now, in this moment, this particular verse stood out, and I wanted to share it to anybody that was willing to listen. So, in 2 Timothy chapter number 3, verse 12, it says this: "Indeed, all who desire to live a godly life in Christ Jesus will be persecuted." Yeah. All who desire to live a godly life in Christ are going to face persecution. And as I think about what this time frame looks like between Ash Wednesday that culminates on Resurrection Sunday, I just wanted to encourage someone whose life does not look like what they thought it would at this stage, in this state, after all this time. Of course, as I just mentioned, Lent ends with Resurrection Sunday. But right before we get to Resurrection Sunday is Good Friday. And on Good Friday, we find our Christ crucified. But he's not only crucified, as if that wasn't enough, he's deserted. Paul, in his writing here to 2 Timothy, in 2 Timothy to his mentee Timothy, after he makes that statement about being persecuted for living for Jesus, there's this crazy line, there's a crazy series of verses, rather, that makes mention to the kind of desertion. Is that a word? The way he was deserted. Is that participated and received the miracles are long gone, and some scholars believe they were in the crowds that cried, "Crucify him." This isn't just a New Testament thing. This theme of success in God looking like worldly failure is all throughout. David did not get to do what was in his heart to do, which was to build a temple for God. I mean, he, of course, was arguably the greatest king, and his kingdom was amazing. But what he really wanted to do was build the temple, and that didn't occur. That had to happen after his death through his son. And Moses, Moses didn't make it into the promised land. I guess what I'm getting at, and where my heart feels inclined to share, is that if right now things don't look like what you thought, if potentially the people who you have paid a great deal of attention to, invested time, talent, treasure into are either nowhere to be found or for the sake of Christ. If we do all that we're doing to the best of our ability for his glory and in his name, then any and everything, including everyone who we lose along the way, the Lord will redeem when the smoke clears and the dust settles. Be encouraged, because even though we may lose, it's part of the Lenten season.